I'm Tim Davis, DevOps Advocate with M0, and this week we're talking about how to detect drift. Now, drift is what happens when what is deployed in your cloud environment doesn't match what's in your Git repository, which should be your single source of truth with your infrastructure as code files. Now, that can happen sometimes when you should be deploying and making changes via infrastructure as code and pull requests and things like that, but somebody just went out into the cloud, started clicking around, and deployed stuff. So how do we do this? The answer is, for this week, going to be driftctl or driftctl, however you decide to do that. Now, you can find this out on GitHub. You can find them out at driftctl.com. And we're going to go ahead and jump into code and see exactly how this works. So I've got a couple of things deployed out in AWS this week. App Env1 and 2, essentially it's just a VPC and then some security group stuff. So let's go ahead and run the driftctl command. I'm doing driftctl scan from, and I'm pointing it at where my state files are. You can actually use glob patterns if you have mono repo where you have a bunch of different modules and state files and things like that. There's lots of different ways you can point it where it will recursively check for your state files. But right now I'll just point it at the two that I've got. So we're going to go ahead and run, and it's going to tell me that I have 100% coverage and I have no drift. Now, it's telling me that I have 100% coverage because I do have some things that are out in the cloud that are deployed that are not being covered by my infrastructure as code. But I've actually created a .driftignore file, which will let me kind of filter those out, kind of like a git ignore. So let's create some drift and see exactly what goes on with that. So let's jump into VPC management here. Let's edit my inbound rules. And let's create a new rule for all traffic from anywhere. Give it a little thing here. Let's save that. So now we have a couple of different things here. And if we jump back into code, let's rerun that same driftctl command again. It's going to go and it's going to scan all of our states and everything out there. Uh-oh. Now we notice that we've got some issues. We have a new security group rule ending in 8501. Well, if we go back into AWS, that is exactly what we created over here that we don't want. So let's go edit our inbound rules, and let's go ahead and delete that rule and save it. Now, if we jump back into code, and we run that once more, we can see that we're all clear again. Real easy to go through and set it up. There's lots of great documentation. This is a heavily supported project in the community. Right now, it's currently sitting at 1.5 thousand stars, which is great. So if you have any other questions, feel free to look them up, file any issues. If you want to get involved, feel free to do that. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to find out what we're playing with next week.